What is up, responsible day traders? Today is Sunday, October 2nd, 2022. I'm Lindsay Duff, and this is Responsible Day Trading. Few things we're going to pretend today: that I don't have a mess behind me and that my hair isn't wild. I got back Tuesday afternoon and I just not have felt right since. So I have been sleeping quite a bit, which is very strange for me. I'm not a big sleeper, so it has been interesting to say the least. I just feel like everything's kind of weird in the background. I don't know. It took me forever to get everything set up, so we're just gonna roll with it, okay? Guys, as you know, I was in Bogota hanging out with my UProfit people. We had a great time. I learned a lot of things. I learned that I didn't know anywhere near as much Spanish as I thought I did. Definitely not. I've got a lot of work to do on that. So classes are planned, and I plan on coming back with more knowledge next time. So, well, with that being said, guys, we have the scholarship coming up. If that's something that you're interested in, please fill out the application, and we will look through them all to see if you guys qualify to be one of our next scholarship students. I will put a link below so that you can join that. Also, we have a 30% discount this month for UProfit Trader. Honest to God, I don't know it off the top of my head, but I'll probably put it right up here. So if you got questions over anything, just reach out to us, let us know. All right, let's go ahead and see what we got going on with the news. As we come over here to responsibledaytrading.com, we're going to want to go over to news, and we're going to go to market news. Let's see what we got going on this week. Okay, so we do have a lot going on. Monday, we have 9 a.m., so just about half an hour after the market opens. Same with Tuesday. Wednesday, we've got some pre-market, and then a little bit an hour, within half an hour and an hour after the market opens. Thursday and Friday are pre-market, so they may not be as crazy. But let's go ahead and see what we got going on with things. Let me move this up here out of the way. And we are going to first look at the daily chart, which we already have up right here. So the daily chart, what we got going on, guys. Whew, every time I switch screens, it makes my bars a little different, so they may get enlarged over the next few days. Okay. So I wasn't here last week to do the recording. We were in the middle of doing some podcasts, but we see what happened. It pulled right back into the EMAs. It actually did a much bigger version of this. So I am going to expect this to push a little bit further down, maybe even down to this area that we've been eyeballing for quite some time. So this was an area that had a really, really hard time for us to break through previously. We hit off of that and bounced down extremely hard. And this is right about the time the pandemic hit. And then it came back up, hung around for a while, and then broke up through there. Now, we do have this area as well, which we're currently at. So I'm going to go ahead and change the color of this one so we can just keep a closer look at it. And we'll make it just a little bit thicker. And that way, that one stands out. Okay. So this is a pretty viable area also for it to slow down, because this is an area that it held prior, right? One thing that we are noticing are the white BBs. The lighter color BBs typically tell us that we're getting a slowdown and a pull in the opposite direction. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to change the entire trend of the market, but just to expect a slowdown. So let's take a step back again here. We pulled back into the areas of the EMAs, and man, it just pounded off of there. It didn't even get close to crossing that top Bollinger Band and the MACDs, and just shot to the downside. Now, there were a couple times where it held out right in here and right in here, where we might be thinking, oh, maybe this is where we're going to create a floor and push back up. But if we looked at the MACDs, they told us to forget about that idea. They were still showing strength and momentum to the downside. We were still outside, not even getting inside of the Bollinger Bands. Now, we have a little bit of a better chance here because the BBs are lighter. They're much closer to the Bollinger Bands, which says if it slows down here, that we'll have a better chance of this pulling back into the Bollinger Bands. So currently it's trying to create this tiny little bar, but you know, it's the beginning of the day. We could see this bar really stretch out throughout the day. So let's take a look at the 28,657. Okay, wow. I haven't even looked at the rest of the charts and anything that it's shown to us, but I can see what happened through here. We had a big bar pull down pretty hard, trying to push down towards that area that we were just looking at. The MACDs are leading quite a bit higher here, and that's a telling sign that, you know, we have a bit of divergence at the area, which says, hey, we may see it do a nice little pullback into the areas of the EMAs. Even if it comes back to this area of the EMA, it's going to be lower than this previous area, because think, as this is coming back, these EMAs will actually still be pulling down a little bit more because they're not calculated off of the immediate action. These closes on the bars are calculated off the immediate action, and they are an EMA, but these EMAs are calculated over a much bigger period. So this big one's going to be calculated over quite a few more bars than this smaller one. The smaller one, we're going to be looking at the more immediate bars. And that's going to go for each chart. So the small one on here is looking at the immediate bars on the 233. The big one here is looking at the overall, which is what really helps us connect these charts when we're looking through them. So here we can see on the 28,657, what's happened is we've had this one bar that just shot down really, really far. And we can even look at the smaller tick charts and see that we had a pretty decent gap, probably about 15 points in a drop, but that gap's already closed. It closed almost immediately. It pulled right back up, and that happens a lot when the day opens. We'll see this one big bar shoot in one direction, and then it'll just continue back up. It's like all these people had these orders just waiting to go in. When they did, it happened, but they got overrun pretty quickly. Now, as I'm looking at the 28,657, we're pulling up to this top Bollinger Band. As we reach this previous area that held right in here, then we're thinking, okay, well, if it bounces off this top Bollinger Band and it rolls and it continues down, then we're going to expect this to push down a little bit further. But if we could see this BB start to pick up some strength and break above this top Bollinger Band, I'm definitely going to give it some oomph to reach up a little bit higher, possibly towards this EMA. Then the next target will obviously be up closer towards these EMAs, and then to try and get back above this area in general. So let's go ahead and just look at the charts that we have as our trading charts. And I like seeing where these things line up. That first area that we drew right there on the 28,657 is kind of lining up with the larger EMA on the 10,946. Now, look at what the 10,946 is telling us. It's giving us a little bit more of a hit than the smaller charts did. It pulled down in the BBs with this big movement. This is all we saw happen in the BBs. It couldn't even get down close to that bottom Bollinger Band, which tells us that it's got some more strength to push up, which it has. It's pushed up higher. We're looking at this current BB right here with this current bar. It still has about 7,500 ticks left on it. So it can definitely change. But I think what we're seeing is still an overall to the downside. I mean, guys, it's hard to break away from the fact that we have an overall to the downside. All of these pullbacks still overall to the downside. Even though it got back above the EMAs here, remember how I've talked about I like to see it pull away and come back into it? Well, if it had pulled away higher here, I'd have been like, guys, we're moving back to the upside. But we didn't see that. So we stayed in a direction being down, which means we never got back above the EMAs and the zero line far enough to create a movement back to the upside. So our immediate direction is up, right? Because we're anticipating this to push up, and that's just anticipations. It could definitely change, and we'll talk about what's happening here in just a moment. So our immediate anticipations, especially looking at what happened back here when this pulled down and created a long reversal bar with almost no action in the MACDs here, the immediate is up, but the overall is still down. And the fact that we pulled up into this area, and yeah, I mean, we may have gotten a tick or so above where that initial high was. Just maybe 2 ticks, 3 ticks above it, but it didn't close back above it. And that's important. Where these closes happen, where that one EMA finally finishes off is, if this close had happened way up here, it had given us just a little more oomph and that kind of thing. But it did close towards the downside to create a reversal bar. So like I was saying, immediate strength is up, okay? And let's go back over to here. Also pulled down, no reaction in the MACDs to the downside. We just had one purple BB. Now to give this a little bit more, I want to say just confidence in this going up, we'd really like to see these BBs break outside of the Bollinger Band. We want to see them rolling outside instead of staying inside of the Bollinger Bands. Staying inside of the Bollinger Bands can more or less end up with something like this. Even though this did get out, we're back below the zero line here, but look how much work it had to do to get back above. It didn't get back above here. It was working really hard. And what happened? It pushed it down each time. This does look like it's really attempting to make that push to the upside. We can see here, we never crossed the bottom Bollinger Band there. We didn't here. We are leading much lower in both the price and the MACDs, but when they're both in agreement, they can both be in agreement to that move to the upside as well. So I do believe that we're going to see an immediate move to the upside. We may see this turn into some sort of M pivot and be a little hard because it's not really an M, because we don't want that middle part of the M to go past that first part of the M. But the initial is up. The overall is down. And as I said before, if we're looking for this to continue down, we want to look for, hey, if it's going to push through here, where's it going? And I'm going to be looking somewhere down here if it does continue down. These are all areas. Could it go down a little bit further, maybe another 100 points? Yeah, it definitely could. But we could also see the tiniest of little bars here. We could see these white BBs roll inside and see this push back to the upside, which, like I said, it's attempting to make that move back to the upside now. We can see these BBs showing distance between them and looking to push outside of the Bollinger Bands. And if it can do that, if it can get back above here, if it can work up to, now our first area is right in here, but if it can work all the way up to here, then we may have a little bit more oomph behind it to see it move up to that next area and then just continue on and see if we're going to get back above here. I have a lot of optimism and I'm really looking forward to this market making its moves back to the upside. Although I've liked these moves down to the downside, because with these moves to the downside, we have a lot of areas that were already created by previous movements that gives us some spaces to run into. And if it does move back to the upside, it'll give us a lot of areas to play with, to bounce off of, to take those long and those short trades as it moves to the upside. So it looks like it's trying to make a long reversal bar to push us back up. I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. Definitely looks like it's trying to pick up the oomph to get back above that Bollinger Band and still working to the upside here. Not quite so much here. It's kind of curled in just a little bit. We do have some divergence going on. And what do I mean by that? We have the price has equaled or exceeded that previous pivot, and the MACDs have not yet been able to keep up. So even with the initial movement showing movement to the upside, for me personally, I'd want to get up through this area and possibly pull back into it to see the movement to move more up. So, all right, guys, that is going to be all she wrote today. I am going to get myself to bed early, just getting all the sleep I can get so I can get all this health and wellness. So I'm ready for whenever we are all together in London and able to find out who our new scholarship students are. So guys, I hope everybody has a wonderful week. If you've got questions, definitely let me know. I am happy to help out. And as always, you know that I'm looking forward to catching you on the profitable side.